just really being self-aware of your business, where it lies, and the challenges it faces. And then adapt it, right? Don't get down like, oh, well, this worked for this company over here. Why isn't it working for mine? Well, you might think you're similar, but really your business model is totally different. Your market segments are totally different. So just be self-aware and realize that, hey, you might need to think outside the box. There's millions of businesses out there, and there's millions of paths to be successful. And so I don't think that, okay, there's one recipe for it. We've done a ton of creative, you probably might not have ever heard of for as far as our distribution network, but I just got creative. I just said, hey, I want this. How can I do it? And make it happen.
Welcome to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, E-commerce Marketing Podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I'm your host. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Taylor Sanford, who is the founder and CEO of Premier Spike. Taylor is an expert in blending offline sales strategies with online marketing to create a powerful brand presence. Under his leadership, Premier Spike has successfully used offline sales to not only generate significant brand awareness, but also boost organic online sales. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to kind of share our journey and kind of what we've done. It's definitely been a gritty experience. So it's always fun to talk about.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and excited to talk to you. Thank you for coming on and joining me today. You have an interesting product. Not a lot of people, well, it's starting to get a lot of traction actually. So some people may have heard of it. Why don't you tell us a little bit first before we kind of dive in, tell us a little bit about your product that you sell, how you got into it, and how did you end up getting into e-commerce sales?
Yeah, for sure. So we at Premier Spike, we manufacture and sell the highest quality of round net equipment on the market. A lot of people probably don't know what round net is. Round net is the generic name of the game that most people probably know as spike ball. Spike ball, round net is kind of like Kleenex and tissue. So Spike Ball is a brand that has made it, the game very popular over the last 15 or so years. And so everyone knows it as Spike Ball, but I was one of their biggest ambassadors from 2018 to 2022. I've now hosted over 200 round net tournaments, more than anyone out there. And over the years, my players were complaining about, just wonky nets. I was having to replace broken nets after every single event. And it had been like 6-7 years since our sport had seen any innovations in equipment. The Spike Ball Pro set came out in 2016, and there had been nothing else. And so, the market is pretty much dominated by one brand, and then there's about a couple dozen knockoffs, but there was nobody really pushing the envelope to really make new products and make it better. And so I kind of took it on myself to say, all right, well, I'm one of the most influential people within this very niche sport, and decided that I would be able to use that influence to not only just create a great product, but then also just kind of hit the ground running with some pre-order sales and have some momentum right from the start.
Okay, great. That's awesome. That's a great story. And when we initially spoke, I was telling you I had actually I have I guess a knockoff version, I think maybe, if you will, of Spike Ball. It's actually sitting in my garage right now. It's pretty bad. It was hard to put together, and the net was hard. You were telling me before, there's a lot of knockoffs that weren't good, and that's when I know what prompted you to essentially create a better mousetrap, so to speak, something that was more sturdy, easier to assemble, and would serve the purpose a lot better. Yeah, it's definitely a fun sport. I had originally come across it, seeing people playing it at the beach here in Florida, and I was like, "What is that? That seems like a really cool game." And so myself and my business partner decided to order one, but I think we got a bad one, unfortunately. But it's always good to know. And I've seen a lot of founders. I've had a lot of founders on here where their business is really created out of a need. You kind of saw, all right, there's a problem here. This, this is, we can really improve on this design. And then based on that need that you saw, that you had for yourself, you said, okay, great. If I had this same problem, I'm sure others have as well. And then I know that
Right.
prompted you to get it out there. And what we want to talk about today, and what we're going to be really diving into today, is just using, of course, offline sales and community to really drive brand awareness and then boost organic sales. Because I think what you're doing and the success you've had is what a lot of brands are now starting to do. And initially, you wouldn't think that offline would lead to online per se, but it's definitely a growing trend. So if you can start off by giving us a specific example of how Premier Spike used offline sales to generate your initial brand awareness.
Yeah. So, and I'll actually back up one step and explain kind of we have a little bit of a unique challenge with our brand awareness, where
Okay.
this sport is dominated by one brand. Most people know the sport as that brand's name, and so if we run traditional meta ads, people, say it's a highlight, a rally, whatever it is, and people click over, and they're thinking, oh, okay, well, that's not the yellow net that we know of Spike Ball, and they're the name brand, so okay, this must be a knockoff, let's go see. Well, they
Right.
get over to our website, and we're $30 more. But how do you only get that, 4 seconds to like really convince them that, oh, this is not a knockoff, this is a higher quality version.
Right.
And so it's really difficult that way. But as soon as people see it in person, once they
Mhm.
play on it, I mean, they notice it immediately. And
Mhm.
so really being able to leverage, again, kind of, one of the most influential people in this sport. I helped other people around the world create their organizations similar to what I had done here in Utah, and hosting events and building a community. And so I had those relationships built in. And so, you mentioned, right, I was my ideal customer. I made this for me
Mhm.
because it was a problem
Right.
I saw. And so when I tell all these other community leaders that, hey, you all know what I do. You all know, the passion that I have for this. I'm not going to create something that is inferior and then use it just
Mhm.
because it's mine. And
Right.
so, really being able to, prove to them that, hey, this is something better. Able to, sending out, prototypes and kind of having a brand launch. But as far as the offline sales, our first partnerships were with these ground net organizations, where it's okay, you guys are hosting, a dozen tournaments every year, and there's, dozens and hundreds of people coming through that play in your tournaments. Well, let's get you guys some really discounted sets. One, it's higher quality. Two, let's make that adoption process really easy for you.
Mhm.
And then we're going to now be able to market to, hundreds of other people without us doing a thing. So now it's
Right.
all based on the organizations. They're already trying to grow their tournaments, grow their communities. Um, and so now as they do that, well, people are seeing our products, they're experiencing our products firsthand. And then we're getting that brand awareness. Then we're seeing those individual organic orders start to trickle in.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff. What you really tied into was existing communities that really just already existed all over, with people that were doing these spike tournaments and using inferior products. And so I think what set you apart, which a brand can kind of take heed to this, is that you were you created this from your passion with the sport, and you saw the holes in the weak points in the other versions, created a better version, and then approached these other communities with that and saying, I'm using this. This is way better than anything you've ever used, and that's like an immediate testimonial right there, which I think is a little bit different because I'm sure e-commerce brands have try to approach communities where they can sell a mass bulk amount of
Right.
products. And I know these communities get pitched all the time because they know that these communities have so many different, hundreds and thousands of customers for whatever product that they're
Right.
selling. So they're getting pitched left and right. But what you've done is you're a little bit different because you're using the product, you've created it, and it's something that is a little bit more organic. And so I think that's definitely something to keep in mind when you're trying to approach these communities. If you have some type of tie-in to the community that's going to give you more of an affinity to that group, it's definitely going to be an easier sell than just somebody off the street just pitching them because they have a lot of potential customers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we all know that, relationships are what makes the world go round. Right. And so,
Right.
being able to have those, and it's, it's interesting because for from 2019 to 2021, really were kind of like those core years of RoundNet organizations growing. I mean, I had no plans of creating my own brand or anything like that, but I was
Mhm.
just, the passion of my heart, willing to just, help these people do what I had done, and build those. And I mean, that's
Yeah.
one, a good reason to not be a jerk and just just try treat people with
Yeah.
respect, and
Yeah.
be willing to help people, because you never know what's going to
Mhm.
come around. And now those relationships help you move forward. And
Yeah.
one good relationship can really make a whole difference when it comes to succeeding as a business. So
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Now, a lot of the listeners out here that are e-commerce business owners or digital marketers, of course, the whole focus these days, a lot of the focus is of just digital marketing, online strategies, trying to grow sales online. With you growing sales offline from approaching these communities and these groups, how has that um, those offline sales coming from offline, how has that affected your brand awareness compared to your online strategies?
yeah.
What would you say is the difference?
Yeah, so honestly, the as far as the brand awareness goes, the offline does so much a better job, right?
Okay.
Again, just explaining that our product, it's the experience of it.
Mhm.
When you see that, oh, like no, nobody knows the difference, right? And so, or nobody knows that there's a problem out there,
Mhm.
because that's all there's ever been.
Right.
And so once you actually introduce that, hey, there can be a better alternative, then
Mhm.
people are like, oh wow, we didn't realize all the things that were just built in that we just accepted as this is just how it goes. um, these are things like when you're playing on any other brand out there. I mean, you're having to straighten the net, adjust it. It's crooked. It twists and turns like a Pringle. All these things that, I mean, between every single play, you're having to center the net on the court,
Wow.
and
Mhm.
everything. And it's just a habit. And it was actually really
Yes.
crazy once we got our first, kind of testing our final prototypes and getting our first versions of the product. You don't realize the habit that between every point you go to walk in and adjust the net.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's just those things that you don't realize are a problem until you have a solution. And
Yes.
yeah, being able to show that to them in person. um, one of the most fun things is when I hear a random person say, "Hey, I just saw your product in some random park. This wasn't at a tournament. This was at a
Yeah.
park at a beach." And having people send in pictures of that, it's like, okay, we're starting to really like make a turn and get into just the casual players, which is 99% of our market.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just kind of a slow and steady process, but it is fun to see when we are able to make those growths in
Yeah.
in brand awareness.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff. Now, for business owners that are listening that are, going to try to do something like this as far as offline sales and getting and just leveraging that to try to boost their overall organic sales, we see the route that you've taken, and you already had a tie-in based on you playing the sport, you developing it. Do you think something like this, like what you did, could be done for, let's say, a startup brand that maybe has limited
Sure.
resources, that doesn't necessarily know where this could go? Is this possible? And if so, what steps do you think a brand like that would need to do?
Absolutely, and I'll share in the other kind of B2B sales that we've been doing that kind of are doing the same thing, but for people that I haven't had a relationship, right? It's not a
Okay.
part of the sport,
Okay.
and that's with PE teachers, schools,
Oh, okay.
and youth camps.
Mm,
These are uh, two segments that we identified as one. Round net is very popular.
mm,
Kids love just at camp director, coordinator, they can just kind of throw out a set and kind of keep kids busy for until dinner's ready. And
right.
so, same thing with PE. There's round net curriculum out there where PE teachers can know exactly what to do, how to implement round net into their school's program from elementary up through high school. Actually, even some colleges now too. And but these are high. These are what I've kind of defined as high use scenarios where, again, they're these summer camps. These PE teachers, they're putting through hundreds of kids playing on these, on a weekly basis. And so I didn't have any tie into them, but I've gone to a couple of conventions, so Shape America, American Camps Association, and again, these directors, they see our product in our little modest 10 by 10 booth, um, and immediately their eyes are focused. Like, is that high quality spike ball? I'm like, well, we're a different brand, but yes, we are higher quality than what's out there, and they notice it because I mean they're breaking sets all the time, right? Kids aren't
Right.
respectful of anything. They're getting them
Right.
jumping on them, and
Yeah.
so yeah, they see ours, and so if you can fill a need and be very very defined at it, and then just focus on that, and that's actually one thing that I've really learned is trying to stay focused. Don't try to sell to a dozen different channels. Um, Kind of find something that really works,
Mhm.
push it to the max, and squeeze everything you can out of it, and then kind of move on. But yeah, right now, that's a big target is these PE teachers summer camps, because again, not only are it's a good kind of boost in revenue to get them. We sell them at a discount still,
Right.
but really on the back end, that's where we're really expecting to see it is from these hundreds of kids from each school, each camp. You're getting
Mm,
that marketing to hundreds of kids, and they're
yes.
paying you to do it. They're paying you to buy your product and then market it for you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a pretty good deal. And then the kids go home and say, "Hey, mom and dad, our
Hmm.
broken set that's in the garage. Hey, well, I just played on Premier Spike, way better, a lot more
Hmm.
fun, and it didn't break."
Okay.
So yeah, so it absolutely can be done. Just make a good product and then find that easy sell. PE teachers,
Right.
again, like I mean, they know the pain. They know
Hmm.
what's out there, and so when they see it, they're on board right away.
All right, for sure. I can see that. Yeah. So it's really just all about doing your due diligence at first, and then seeing, okay, where can you get in there? Where you get that sale that can become organic? And then, like you said, the PE teachers, the school systems, and then these youth camps. It was a great way to do it. Now, when you have your product at these different, let's say, tournaments, and the people are using it, and then I'm sure you're, of course, selling it there as well, or displaying it and talking about the features and doing sales. After these specific offline events where you're seeing the product, you're selling it, have you seen a considerable, measurable increase in your online traffic or sales after any of these type of events?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it hasn't necessarily been like uh, after any specific event. Again, a lot of these organizations, they're running them. it's one or two tournaments a month, and then same thing, kind of camps. It's right. I mean, you get some kids one week and so on. And
Right.
so, but we do see just sales in general, a higher percentage of them out of these
Okay.
pockets. So,
I see.
so Illinois round net, Colorado round net, Pacific Northwest, North Carolina. Anyway, so like kind of these organizations in each of those areas definitely has a higher percentage of sales coming out of those. And so we can
Okay.
definitely attribute sales from these offline events
I
that
see.
are contributing to us kind of again more kind of slow and steady as they come in.
Right.
Unfortunately, our target demographic is the poor college students. So, but
Right. Right.
they play on it a couple times. Like, okay, all right, I can't. I've got to get my own now,
Yes.
and see those rolling in.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that where you may not necessarily see that immediate boost, but yeah, as these events happen, some people get it, they tell their friends, and then that's kind of when the word of mouth will start. I think leads to the overall steady growth in the online sales where from those events, like you said, maybe some college students, some people get it, they tell their friends, and then they're just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
check out this product, go to this site, and then that's where you're steadily seeing that growth.
Right. I mean, you see, right. I mean, you hear, it takes what an average of 7 touch points to before
Yes.
someone finally actually purchases something. Um,
Mhm.
Again, these offline partnerships and B2B deals, um, we kind of have that built in. Like, all right, you
Mhm.
didn't buy us after this first tournament, you'll be back in 2 weeks, and then it'll
Right.
keep coming around. And so,
Yes.
definitely end up getting a lot of that exposure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, with these events and these strategies that you've done offline to grow the sales and grow the business to contribute to online sales, what would you say are some pitfalls that you saw that or mistakes that you made that you see that maybe some other businesses should avoid based on your experiences?
Yeah, the biggest one is that not being focused, not really
Okay.
understanding. Okay, what need am I filling, um, and and who is the who what is the low hanging fruit?
Okay.
I mentioned that the competitive side of the sport. The people who play in tournaments are about 1-2% of the market. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's like, okay, I mean, I tried to push into the masses, kind of right from the start after our pre-orders. Like, okay, well, hey, these are awesome. Everybody likes high quality, um, but you realize that, okay, where is the focus? Because there's only so much time in the day. I only have so
Yeah.
much energy in the day, and
Right.
so when I'm more or less a one man shop right now, I've got to say, okay, let's stop focusing on trying to go after these thousands and thousands of potential customers. That one, it's going to be a one-off buy. Two, it's a really hard
Mhm.
sell,
Mhm.
based on our natural challenges that are built in.
Yeah.
But if we just focus on these other aspects, these other things that we're going after, we're profitable. And
Yeah.
so let's stop, throwing all that money away to try to pick at every single branch out there, and stick with what's really working and let it
Yeah.
grow more organically.
Right.
Especially if you've got a passion business. Um, I understand that pain more than anything. That it's like I have the vision in my head. I know what I want to be at. Um,
Mhm.
I've been around this sport for 6 years now, but my wife has to remind me that, hey, your competition, they've been around for 15 years. They weren't working full time for 5 years into it. And so let's kind of slow down a little bit, and just kind of keep that passion, bridle it and target it into, just two or three directions as opposed to, 10 to 12.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can only do so much. You're so right about that. We all have 24 hours in a day, no more than that. And yeah, focus is a key thing. And I see, and a lot of brands, and I've seen this before, when there's so many opportunities. You've got these online efforts that you could go to. There's a lot of things you can do offline, online, and then you want to try to hit everything, but the bottom line is you can't. You got to focus. You got to pick your battles and figure out what's going to be, like you said, that low hanging fruit. Tackle those things first, and then then just go from there.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor, as we get ready to wrap things up, since you're really been on the pulse of a lot of these online sales that you're generating through the community and how that's corresponding to your online sales, what have you seen, or what do you see maybe in the next few years, how your strategies may need to evolve with changing in social media, things like that? What have you seen, and what would you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely things on my mind is kind of, okay, that vision, where do we want to get to, and what does that path look like? And,
Mm-hmm.
as we, particularly, I mean, we're still in our first year. We didn't get product until
Right.
last August. So this is our
Wow.
first, full round net season, spring through fall.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to get the majority of you know, serious organizations adopting us this year. This is going to be the first kind of full school year now that we've started to make that push. We got a bunch kind of in this spring into some schools, and then we'll obviously be pushing really hard kind of in a back to school type of deal in August and September. And so, continue pushing that. And then as that brand awareness grows, okay, now, we're still working on getting our online marketing campaigns really set up the way they should be, right? Making sure that we've got
Right.
retargeting, we've got proper social media content going out, because we want to make sure we take advantage of those offline events. And if you don't have
Right.
your online advertising set up,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be losing a lot. And so that's a big thing, is one, kind of making sure that we have our foundation set so that as we grow, we just kind of keep scaling up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
Testing out different ways to advertise, different partnerships, and as we do that, I foresee, I envision just kind of a nice consistent growth.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually, right? I mean, that demand then turns into the other channels of getting into retail stores. We
Right.
just did outdoor retailer last
Okay.
month. And had a handful of amazing conversations that I'm really excited about. And
Mm-hmm.
again, each one of these is just, all right, here's a little bit more. Here's a little bit more. We're
Mm-hmm.
not trying to get into any, big brands. We're not ready for a Target or a Walmart by any
Okay.
means, but, these more specialty sporting goods stores that, again, will kind of have our product, out on the floor
Yes.
as an example. They can see that. And so, yeah, so it's just kind of, okay, we've got a little opportunity here. Let's turn on that channel. Let's push it a little bit, give it a little bit of gas. And based on what works, you give it more gas. And so
Yes.
that's kind of, yeah, our strategy is just kind of, okay, here's a little bit here, here's a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's grow naturally. Become a big advocate for managing mental health. And so, again,
Right.
not trying to spread yourself too thin and get burnt
Right.
out. I definitely experienced that a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it definitely helps you to, like, okay, you don't have to, we're in no rush. Let's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
keep doing what we're doing and doing what works, and see the small wins and enjoy them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's some great advice, and that route that you've taken is one to note, because there's a lot of brands that are in your position, and all brands have kind of been there where you're online. You don't know, okay, all right, we gotta hit all channels all at once. We gotta focus on retail as well. Let's think about some of these big box retailers. Let's boost the online, and then it could be overwhelming, and that may not necessarily be the best thing to do. Where your growth has really been organic, and it seems like you're kind of taking a phased approach in it. You've established that you had that community, you took full advantage of that, you're still taking advantage of that, you're growing your online sales, and then now you're looking at, okay, possibly doing some deals with some small targeted, especially sports shops, and then going from there. And then, of course, maybe your next iteration after that would then be maybe the big box retailers,
Absolutely.
depending on where it goes from there. So yeah,
Absolutely. Right. And,
that
and that's just because of our unique challenge, right?
right.
And every brand out there is going to have a little bit different. In fact, my
Sure.
co-founder, Adam, him and his wife, they did these little chap caps,
Hmm.
where it's a little chapstick holder, a chapstick cap,
Hmm.
um, that is on a keychain,
Okay.
and and they've been strictly online, right? I mean, they went the traditional Etsy route, and has
Hmm.
some influencer post it, and they sold like 3,000 like a day.
Wow.
And things like that are great, right? You can just kind of, if you
Yes.
can just like, that's just awareness. Like, oh my gosh, that's just a cool little $5 buy. Like,
Hmm.
you can go straight to online. So just really being self-aware of your business,
Hmm.
um, where it lies, and the challenges it faces. And then adapt it, right? Don't get down like, oh well, this worked for this company over here. Why isn't it working for mine? Well, you're you might think you're similar, but really your business model is totally different.
Hmm.
Your market segments are totally different. So just be self aware and realize that, hey, you might need to think outside the box. Um,
Yes.
there's millions of businesses out there, and there's millions of paths to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't think that, okay, there's one recipe for it. We've done a ton of creative things that you probably might not ever think, and it might not have ever heard of, for as far as our distribution network, but I just got creative. I just said, hey, I want this.
Hmm.
How can I do it? And
Yeah.
yeah, make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, very well said, Taylor. And I think the key takeaway with that is you got to do what's right for your business. You can't look at the path of other businesses just because that your particular path that you went through worked that was working for you doesn't necessarily mean every business has to follow that same path. So you really have, like you said, have to be self-aware as a business and a business owner. Uh, well, Taylor, this has been an awesome conversation. We really appreciate you coming on. I've learned a ton, and I know our listeners and viewers have as well. But lastly, before we do let you go, I always like our guests to share one closing fun fact about themselves that you think we'd be interested to know.
Well, my fun fact is I have a birth condition that I do not sweat. So
Wow.
I
Okay.
my first sport is ice hockey. I still play in two or three adult leagues each
Mhm.
week, and yeah, that is my fun fact, is that I do not sweat, so I overheat easily. So
Okay.
these triple digit summer days where I'm out running a tournament, they are not my favorite ones to do. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so it's a kind of
Okay.
a unique fact about me. It's called ectodermal dysplasia. If
Hmm.
anyone else out there has it, I think it's about 1 in 100,000 people
Oh,
are
wow.
diagnosed with it. So yeah.
Interesting. That's very rare. I hadn't really heard of that. Is that because you don't have sweat glands, or it's just a condition where they don't
It,
perform properly?
it's yeah, I don't exactly know the biology of it, but yeah, I mean it
Sure.
essentially affects my sweat glands. So I sweat out of the palms of my hands and feet,
Okay.
and different people do other things. One guy that's
Gotcha.
actually he's on my hockey team.
Yeah.
He also has it, but he doesn't sweat at all. Like, so even eat out of his
Okay.
palms,
Oh,
and so
wow.
yeah, there's definitely variations of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I can imagine. Like you said, that could be good and bad. I know in the 100-degree temperatures, that's really bad. You probably really got to monitor your hydration, and I know you get hot easily. Uh, Good side of it is you don't got to worry about sweating through your shirts.
Date nights are great. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no worry about that
Right.
when you're out on a date. So that's
Yeah,
nice.
exactly. No sweat stains under the arms. So that's that's a good thing. Well, thank you for sharing that and opening up about that. I appreciate that. Lastly, before we do let you go, what is the best way for our listeners and viewers to reach out to you if they want to pick your brain any more about building community around offline and then converting online sales?
Yeah. So our website is premierspike.com. If that's all you remember, there's you can always go to the contact form and reach out to me there. Also, my personal kind of work branded Instagram is at sanford.spike.
Okay.
And that's just kind of on there. I've just kind of been trying to share kind of a little bit of a journal, maybe like, doing weekly videos of, oh, this is, something that's kind of been on my mind. And so, yeah, that's kind of my personal business Instagram that I share more of my
Okay.
journey on.
Okay, awesome. We'll have the link to your site in the show notes. So we definitely encourage people to reach out to you if they're interested in picking your brain, or if they're just interested in buying your product. I'm sure there's some people out there that you've intrigued, because if they're like me, they've they've had some of the bad ones, and yeah, I'm definitely curious myself. So I'll probably check out your site as well, and see if that's something I'm going to want to dive into, and then try this again. Well, thanks again, Taylor, for coming on. We really appreciate you coming and sharing your journey here on the e-commerce marketing podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce marketing podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.